Spurs fans will find out in just 3 days if we can indeed break the internet.
Go, Spurs, go, 'cause the Giants stink.
What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports TGIF, and I came across an article from Pounding the Rock this morning talking about which teams deserve Cooper Flagg, based on, losing record, etc. Which team would be the best fit, and which team would break the internet if they got the first overall pick. So I'll give my thoughts on which teams go for each of those, but let's get into, I said that right? Let's get into the article from Pounding the Rock, the Who Actually Deserves It ranking, okay? Honorable mention the Dallas Mavericks and specifically their fans, because Pounding the Rock doesn't think they've ever felt so bad for the fans of any sports team like they do the Dallas Mavericks fans after the asinine Luka Doncic trade. Okay, fair. All right, the top five. Number 5, the Utah Jazz. They're at least one elbow to David Robinson's head away from them being cool with them winning the number 1 pick. I'm talking about Karl Malone throwing a blatant elbow to the back of David Robinson's head many years ago and literally knocking him out. So don't forgive, don't forget. Anyway, moving right along, the Washington Wizards at number 4. Anyone who's still rooting for this team after all these years deserves something. Okay, fair. The Portland Trailblazers. At this point, their draft history has become a bit of a punchline. Greg Oden. Okay, yes. Greg Oden was a bust, but he was an injury bust. The talent, I think, was there, but his body just did not hold up. If I remember correctly, Kevin Durant was drafted after Greg Oden, so ouchie. Sam Bowie, the player that was drafted before Michael Jordan and after Hakeem Olajuwon. So one of these things is not like the other. And then LaRue Martin, I don't know who that was. I had to look him up. He's a player from the 70s that never panned out to be. He just never turned out. The Charlotte Hornets. How funny would it be if they were to land the number 1 pick right after Michael Jordan sold the team? Of course, they're Pounding the Rock's pick for who deserves Cooper Flagg the most are San Antonio Spurs. They encourage other fan bases to think about how unfortunate a season the Spurs just had. Their superstar went down with a blood clot. They lost the greatest coached in team in possibly NBA history in a less than ideal manner, and they missed the postseason for a franchise record 6th straight season. Quite frankly, Pounding the Rock, I don't think you're going to find any other fan bases crying for us because we got the number 1 overall pick 2 years ago, and there are many more teams that I'm sure have missed the postseason for well more than 6 years in a row. So leave it at that. The what's best for Cooper Flagg rankings. Now, they do get into some things here not related to sports, so I was like, I don't really want to go into this. We'll just pick, hey, look, who's number 1 again? The San Antonio Spurs. Let me move this up just a little bit. We're talking about getting to a team up with one of the most freakish talents around in Victor Wembanyama, a roster better than their win total that would be looking at their 3rd straight NBA Rookie of the Year award. Has that ever happened before, guys? I don't think so, right? 3 rookie? No. Flagg would be set up to be part of a team that could dominate the NBA for a decade plus, could use exactly the level of community engagement he desires, and he's already shown a fondness for the city and team facilities. The only downside would be not getting coached by Pop, but it sounds like he'll still be in the building. And he would still get a Johnson. Actually, 2 of them, because we got Kelvin. The Break the Internet rankings. They do have the Washington Wizards up top here as an honorable mention, and I wanted to point this out, because check this out, guys. If the Wizards land what would be an NBA record 7th number 1 pick, whoa! I forgot, I actually did not know. The Wizards have had 6 number 1 picks, and they've been this incompetent for this many decades? Damn. That's impressive, but not in a good way. If they get the number 1 pick, you can expect some grumbling on the internet about it. I don't know. Yes, I guess if they've had 6 previous number 1 picks and now they're getting a 7th, you're going to say, how many freaking times are the Wizards going to get the number 1 overall pick and suck? Ooh, the Houston Rockets. Now, this would be a problem. The Rockets won 52 games this season and ended up the 2nd seed in the Western Conference. No one is going to be happy to see a team with that record win the number 1 pick. Agreed. Seeing one of the best teams in the conference get the best player in the draft. Yeah, I got to think a lot of people would be unhappy about that. Number 2, another Texas team, the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks landing the number 1 pick in the draft after trading away their franchise superstar for a baffling trade return. Yeah, still to this day, the Doncic trade, don't get it. would be sure to test Twitter's server capacity, but number one again, and I'm sure there might be a little bias here from pounding the rock to San Antonio Spurs. This outcome would be rage bait in the extreme. You're talking about the Spurs winning the no doubt number one pick twice in 3 years, somehow managing to skip the year without a potential franchise icon, and doing it with less than a 7% chance in the lottery. And heaven forbid the Spurs somehow land Cooper Flagg with Atlanta's 0.7% chance. That is my ultimate dream, if you will, Spurs fans, is that Atlanta pick that has gone up and down in value a lot throughout the season somehow jumps from 14 to 1, which means technically Atlanta, 2 years in a row, jump from back of the draft in the lottery, back of the lottery in the draft to number one. But this time we take that pick. I obviously want that. It's not likely. I know you guys want that too, but my goodness, would the internet just go wild if we got the first overall pick via Atlanta? If this goes down, as in the Spurs getting the first overall pick, prepared to be despised at a level that only the Heatles and Durant-era Warriors could compare to. And I had to look up the Heatles. I didn't really get the reference there. They're talking about the Miami Heat with LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade, and I'm assuming also Ray Allen as the fourth. The super team thing, a lot of people didn't like that. I'm not a fan of super teams getting together. Durant jumping to the Warriors too. This would all be via draft, so I don't know if the hate would be there. Getting number one, number four, and number one, and then getting the two number ones when there are two franchise players. Yeah, people would hate the Spurs. So let me give my 2 cents, Spurs fans. Which team deserves it? Sure, I'd love the Spurs to get the first overall pick, but if I don't have to pick my team, and looking at some of the other teams mentioned, actually the team I picked that deserves it, to be honest with you guys, pick the Charlotte Hornets. They've only had number one pick in franchise history, old grandmama himself, Larry Johnson, and they've been beset by a lot of bad luck by trading players away that at the time didn't look like they might be something special, but turned out to be something special. I knew that the Charlotte Hornets traded, maybe you forgot, Kobe Bryant to the Lakers many, many moons ago. What I did not know is that SGA was not drafted by the Clippers and then eventually traded to the Thunder. He was drafted by the Hornets. So the Charlotte Hornets drafted and traded, granted, on draft night, traded away a bona fide Hall of Famer, top 10 NBA player of all time, and recently traded an MVP and one of the best players in the NBA, SGA, before he was SGA. Just wow, some obscenely bad luck for the Charlotte Hornets to have had both those players briefly on their franchise and traded them away. As far as the best fit, I think we would all agree the Spurs need a forward that has some size, can shoot the three, that can defend. He is the exact player. He fits the mold of what player we need in that starting lineup. So, boop, he is the best fit, or the best fit would be the Spurs. And which team would break the internet? It would be the Spurs again. Getting Wemby 2 years ago and then getting Flagg this year. What do you guys usually say on the channel? Every castle needs its flag. So us having that kind of luck, getting the best player in the draft 2 years ago, was looking like the best player in last year's draft, and Stefan Castle, who won Rookie of the Year this year, and then Flagg as well. Yeah, you can bet your bottom dollar that the internet would be running wild like Hulkamania 30 years ago. Oh crap, 40 years ago, and people would just be. Yeah, people would be absolutely livid with the Spurs, except for us as Spurs fans. We'd be rolling down the street, sipping on gin and juice, laid back, with the Spurs in my mind on the Spurs. I don't know. I'm getting silly. It would be incredible if somehow we land the first overall pick next May 12th. We did 10-11. It's Monday. I'll be live for that. I believe Miss TSR will be joining the channel. Finally, Miss TSR is back for the lottery. I think the results are from 7 to 7:30, which means we might go live at 6:30 just to talk some Spurs. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And whatever happens, happens. If we get 8-14, so be it, Jedi. But I'd really like to see it, obviously us jump into the top 4. And earphone users beware if we get the first overall pick, because it will be insane. So drop a comment down below. Which team do you think deserves it? Who do you think would be the best fit? Which team do you think would break the internet? Do you agree with Pounding the Rock that Spurs? Or do you have a different pick for some of those that I just mentioned? Appreciate you all. Hit the thumbs down, support the channel, subscribe to become part of our awesome Spurs community. Hope you have a great week, great weekend. Thank you, and as always, go Spurs, go.
Go Spurs, go. 'Cause the Giants